Hi everyone, I'm Maura Black, a partner here at Chisholm Chisholm Kilpatrick.
And I'm Claire Babcock, an accredited claims agent here at the firm.
Today we're going to clear up some points of confusion about various benefits involving aid in attendance, or A&A. Broadly, A&A is a VA benefit that provides additional compensation to veterans who need help caring for themselves. And what many people don't realize is that there are actually several different paths to get benefits based on the need for aid in attendance, each with their own requirements and compensation rates. So that means there can be a significant amount of conflicting and confusing advice on this topic.
Yes, and because aid in attendance cases are somewhat rare, even VA adjudicators struggle to be consistent with applying the legal requirements. So today we're going to do a breakdown of the differences between the various benefits involving aid in attendance. And this all falls under the statute for special monthly compensation, which is 1114, and it has different subsections that correspond to letters. So you'll hear us talk about SMC-l, SMC-R1, SMC-R2, and SMC-t, and then we'll also briefly discuss enhanced pension. Once you have an idea about which type of benefits you may be eligible for, you can then look up that specific benefit through our YouTube channel or blog to get more specific information about the requirements.
Great. So the first SMC level that we'll talk about is SMC-l. SMC-l is the initial aid and attendance benefit tier. The basic eligibility requirements for SMC-l are that the veteran's service-connected disabilities force them to depend on the regular aid and attendance of another person to perform the activities of daily living, or ADLs. The veteran needs to very clearly demonstrate the way in which their service-connected disabilities impair them to the point that they need help with activities of daily living. And a note here, VA often incorrectly imposes a requirement that a veteran needs a Scheduler 100% rating in order to qualify for SMC-l, but that is not true, that's not the law, and it's a common error that VA makes. Instead, the focus for SMC-l is on whether the veteran's service-connected disabilities, regardless of the rating percentages assigned to those conditions, cause the veteran to need the regular aid and attendance of another person.
So Maura mentioned activities of daily living as being an important component of SMC-l, and so we'll talk about that phrase. Activities of daily living are what they sound like, things that you need to do on a daily basis to function in your environment. So these are things like grooming, bathing, personal care, attending to the wants of nature, brushing your teeth, eating, dressing, taking your medications, or even adjusting your prosthetic devices. And as an aside, this isn't related to aid in attendance, but SMC-l is also payable for a veteran who is in bed full time, except for taking part in treatment or therapy. SMC-l is available if a veteran's corrected eyesight is 5/200 or less in both eyes. But most of all, and relevant here, SMC-l is payable if a veteran needs someone to help protect them from hazards in their environment and with performing those ADLs.
Great. Thanks, Claire. And to emphasize, these are examples that we're talking about. These are not really hard rules. The regulation does have some phrasing that's important, but it doesn't specifically pin down or define what will constitute A&A in a particular case. So again, examples of how you might qualify, not specific hard rules or all these boxes that you have to check. So we just wanted to get that out of the way too, because these are really tricky cases and they're very fact dependent. So moving on to the compensation associated with SMC-l, the monthly compensation rate for L starts at $4,767.34 a month for a single veteran without dependents. And the rates increase if the veteran has dependents or multiple qualifying conditions. The way that scheduler ratings will also be affected by the number of dependents a veteran has. And some additional tips to keep in mind for SMC-l. VA is supposed to consider SMC sort of automatically when a veteran files a claim, especially if they're seeking an increased rating for any of their service-related issues. But VA frequently overlooks aid in attendance due to insufficient detail in medical records or just a lack of specificity in a form. We talk about all the time how it's best to kind of deliver the specific language that VA wants, because if they don't have it, loud and clear in a claim form, they might overlook it. VA will also want you to provide strong medical documentation, like a doctor's note that explicitly states the need for regular aid and attendance because of service-connected issues. VA will often require the completion of VA Form 21-2680. This is a really big stumbling block we found in our cases. Without this form, VA gets a little bit paralyzed and they're not going to proceed to adjudicating A&A. So if at all possible, it can be really helpful if you're seeking benefits based on aid and attendance for your doctor or for someone that maybe provides your care to complete that 2680 form if they're willing. That evidence can be really impactful for VA adjudicators.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll move on to an even higher level of special monthly compensation, which is level R1. So SMC R1 is a higher tier benefit for veterans with more severe disabilities, and proving the need for aid and attendance is often a component part of qualifying for SMC R1. So some basic eligibility requirements include qualifying and meeting the criteria for smc-l, and then also requiring, an even higher level of care. So a veteran entitled to R1 typically has severe physical impairments or combinations of severe impairments that require specialized care.
And when Claire is talking about a caregiver or a level of care, for R1, the caregiver does not need to be a licensed or necessarily trained medical professional. For example, a spouse or a family member could serve as a caregiver in this benefit context. But the level of care that is provided to the veteran who's claiming this benefit needs to be high. One way we prove this for our clients is by demonstrating that the care is provided on a continuous basis. Think about like around the clock care, as opposed to the regular aid and attendance that's provided in the A&A standard. And once you've proven that, the compensation for SMC-R1 is $9,559.22 per month for a single veteran without dependents, again, with adjustments to be made if a veteran does have dependents on their award.
There is an SMC R2, but first we're going to talk about SMC-t. So SMC-t essentially has the same requirements as SMC R1, but with a significant difference. The veteran's qualifying service-connected condition, which causes them to need aid and attendance, needs to be related to a traumatic brain injury or TBI. The risks associated with TBIs, and just the level of disability that those conditions can pose, means that SMC-t is the same level of compensation and the highest level of SMC, same as R1, $10,964.66 per month.
And that will bring us to SMC at the R2 level. So SMC R2 is the highest aid and attendance tier and is specifically reserved for veterans that require an intensive level of professional care. That usually means full-time hospitalization level care at home. A veteran must meet all SMC R1 criteria that Claire just spoke about, plus they need to demonstrate additionally a need for additional specialized care exceeding the R1 criteria.
And we're talking here about someone who needs regular, ongoing assistance provided specifically by a licensed caregiver or medical professional, like a certified nurse or a home healthcare professional. And these veterans, typically in the absence of this in-home care, would require institutionalization or hospitalization. So as with SMC-t, like we mentioned, this is the highest level of SMC payable. It's $10,964.66 for single veterans without dependents.
And we'll finish up with one that's a little bit different. It's VA pension aid and attendance. This is sometimes referred to as enhanced pension or improved pension. This level of pension, we'll call it enhanced pension, is quite a bit different from the others. For example, it doesn't actually require a veteran to have a service-connected disability at all, but it often gets confused with the other levels of aid and attendance that we spoke about, so we thought it would be a good idea to mention it here in this context. So as with other levels of aid and attendance benefits, in this, for enhanced pension purposes, the veteran has to show that they require the regular assistance from another person with activities of daily living. As Claire mentioned, those things can be bathing, feeding, dressing, or protection from everyday hazards.
And then that's really where the similarities end. There are some additional requirements. The veteran must be age 65 or older or permanently disabled, but again, the disability need not be service-connected. The veteran must have served during a wartime period with an honorable discharge, and the veteran must meet certain income and net worth thresholds. You'll see this referred to as means testing or needs-based. And the compensation that is paid through the enhanced pension is much lower than special monthly compensation aid in attendance. So for 2025, the aid in attendance enhanced pension rate is $2,358 per month.
No matter what level of SMC or aid and attendance related benefits you might qualify for, if VA overlooks you or denies your claim for benefits involving A&A, it can be very helpful to hire a VA-accredited advocate. SMC is one of the most technical and complex areas of VA law we found, and even most VA adjudicators don't have a lot of experience with it. In contrast, a large firm like CCK Law has seen many of these cases. Claire and I work with these types of cases all the time. So we could help you or the veteran in your life find and present the evidence that we've found to be the most successful. Consider contacting us for a free case evaluation.
That's all we have for you today, but please like and subscribe if you found this video helpful, and feel free to look at our blog or our YouTube channel for more information about aid in attendance. Take care.